Hello, Ashley, and
How
Teachable.
are you, my friend? How are you?
I'm good. I just gave myself a very severe haircut, and I am ready to go.
Loving this pandemic hair journey for everyone. All of my whole group of guy friends, all like shoulder length hair. Everybody's
Yeah,
doing at home cuts. Love
yeah,
this journey and creativity for all of us.
yeah.
Um, Audience, look, I can see some folks rolling in on the stream here. It's wonderful to have you with us. My name is Ashley with the Discover team at Teachable, and would love to know where you're joining us from today. I am enjoying a gray and hazy day in San Francisco. Little drizzle happening. Waylon, I know you're in the Colorado area. Have you guys had snow yet? Is that a thing?
No, we had frost this morning, but right now it's just
Mm.
gorgeous red leaves and yellow leaves and green leaves and gold leaves and butterscotch leaves, and it's lovely.
Fantastic. I'm envious, eternally envious of the autumn colors.
Well, you're welcome.
Uh, leaf peeping extraordinaire. Oh, look. Okay, so we've got folks from Florida in the house. Very represented Florida. Welcome. I guess you all might not have the same leaf coloring, but probably nice and warm where you are. I'm guessing, do drop us a note. Let us know where you're tuning in from, whether you can see us and hear us. And we will kick off our session today, which I'm very excited about. So, I think there are lots of folks, especially in the pandemic universe, who have been thinking through uh, creative endeavors. Maybe like a silver lining of this past 18 months for you has been that it's gotten you thinking about a creative endeavor that you've had in the back of your mind for a little bit of time. Maybe it's time to write that book. And what are the barriers to getting something like that done? For me, it's like, in addition to getting pen to page, it's okay, well, so what if I write this thing? What happens then? What do I do with it? How do I put it out into the world and just hope that people pick up on it? And Waylon, we were just chatting earlier. This is like not a theoretical practice for you. You have done this before and actually are like in the throes of doing it currently. So what you just finished, you just shipped off the draft of your second book, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything we're going to talk about is au courant. None of it's theoretical, and none of it's even, my first book, which I did 5 years ago. Half of that is no longer relevant and expired. So things are always evolving quickly. So we'll talk about what works right now.
So just as we're, before we dive into the content, I'm curious, give us a taste of how has this process felt for you this second time around? Like, what have the previous few months been like? What are you feeling now that you've gotten this thing shipped? What's the what's the
You
skinny?
know, I think in a lot of ways it's easier. I think people are used to all the platforms we're using are kind of old news. And there's some more comfort with what the heck Instagram is,
Mm,
which might have been newer 5 years ago. On the other hand, Facebook has kind of fallen apart in a lot of ways. Pages are no longer that effective or popular often. So things have just
right.
changed. And that's always, you know, uh, kind of the art or the craft of doing this, is how do you do it in a way that works right now, whatever your platform is. And we'll also touch on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and Pinterest and having your own site and newsletters. There's a lot to it, but Instagram right now is a fun way to do it if folks want to.
Great. I love that idea. So for those of you, I'm curious to know those of you who are joining us today, where are you in this process? Have you started? Do you have an idea for a book and you're being proactive about how you're going to put it out there once it's done? Love that tenacity, by the way. Or have you already gotten a lot of stuff written down and now you want to kind of shore up your skills on promoting. Like Waylon mentioned, you know, this landscape is ever evolving, right? So much of what we do is social media, and that shifts and changes weekly, monthly. The platforms are different. So I love today we're going to get to hear from Waylon just a little peek behind the curtain of how one can promote their book via Instagram. And that's really just like the tip of the iceberg. I know, Waylon, your team at Elephant Academy is here with us, and there are lots of different um, courses, educational opportunities, resources that you all offer for folks who are getting on this author journey and trying to really make a robust go of it by understanding the landscape. So throughout the session today, you'll have access to both the link for the course that we're going to be chatting about today, which is I love the title of it, by the way, How to Write, Publish, and Sell the Hell Out of Your Book, because isn't that what we want to do?
Yep.
Uh, and then today we're focusing specifically on Instagram and how you can kind of build that audience. Um, so stay tuned, friends. There will be I will you'll have a link to the replay for this available. We'll send that to everyone who's registered today via email after the session is over. And there's also, I think, a pretty like sweet deal for folks who are interested in exploring the rest of the course, since today we'll just get a little snippet. And to give us that snippet, I will turn it over to you, Waylon.
Thank you. My dog just started snoring right by me.
Oh,
So
perfect.
if
Some
you
good
hear a
ambient
rumble in the
noise.
background, what's that?
Just some good ambient noise.
I know it's very relaxing. Um, yeah, so I don't know if folks all know Elephant Journal, but it's a pretty big independent website, and we have an online school which is somewhat writing focused, has different courses. Ashley, you mentioned one of them, how to write, publish, and sell the hell out of your book. And I think, generally as writers, we do a lot of thinking and dreaming about writing. We don't always do a lot of writing. Even those of us who do a lot of writing, we're not always thinking about. It's almost like we've outsourced the actual publication of it and printing of it
Mm,
and selling of it to publishers. And that may have worked at some point, but publishers have been weakened by Amazon primarily. And on some level, we can kind of reclaim our power and do it ourselves if we want to, or even if we're working with a publisher. You know, it's an incredibly easy time to write and publish and sell the hell out of your book, compared with the historic kind of context of writing, where you dream of writing, you dream of finding an agent, you go to like the basement of some bookstore to look up a publisher's like
right.
contact information, and you just wind up in the slush pile, and you don't know how it works. You wish you lived in New York so you could, harangue a publisher's office in person. Now it's
More
really,
gatekeepers, right? They're just
yeah,
like more gatekeepers. Yeah.
there were more gatekeepers, but at the same time, the downside of today is everything's sort of confusing. It's the
Mm,
Wild West, and things have been shaken up, for good, for better and worse. Publishers do a lot of good work historically, but they're a little less effective now, because Amazon really, to me, is sort of uh, the game changer, and not necessarily in a good way for writers or publishers. So what can we do ourselves to kind of control our own destiny, and to, like with my first book, I've been able to print, uh, make it super eco, design it how I want it,
mm.
and sell a ton of copies and make 95% of the profits, as opposed to, as most of if you're writing,
Giving them to
usually
Amazon.
make like 5 to 10% of the jacket price. What was that, Ashley?
I just like giving a lot of those profits to Amazon
Yeah, or the bookstore or
or
the
the
publisher.
bookstore. Right?
Now you get all of it if you want it, but can be more work. So what we're going to talk about today isn't so much independent publishing, but whether you're going independent, you're publishing on Amazon, please don't, or you're going with a publisher,
Mhm.
you know, here's how you can write and market your book and sell it on Instagram.
And I
So
am gonna, before you go any further,
please.
Waylon, I just want to note for everybody, I'm gonna jump off here so everyone can see and hear you and your slides. But we'll be hanging out in the chat, so definitely drop in any questions that you might have or anything you want Waylon to touch on during our session. And I will see you back at the end.
Okay, Ashley, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Teachable. So yeah, today I think there's what is it, 7 sections to our agenda: right marketing, discipline, and I come from the Buddhist tradition where discipline is synonymous with joy, so it's a happy word. Serialize and share. Serialization is everything old is new again. It's incredibly magical, and we'll talk about that. Build a community, which we've all heard about. Real-time feedback is the benefit of that community, among others. Edit and design, market and sell. So the good news or the bad news is, and I think we can go to the first slide, is, or the second or the next slide, is if you want to be a writer, you have to be a marketeer or a marketer. You have to be willing to create a community, nurture a community, build a community, and really any publisher, Amazon doing it independently or doing it with others you're gonna need that community. If all you want to do is write and put your writings in a drawer, nothing's wrong with that. Writing for yourself is beautiful and important, and ultimately the ground of any genuine, effective writing. But if you do want to sell it to others, you're going to have to kind of wrap your noggin around marketing. So, from an elephant point of view, Elephant Journal being the website I founded, um, that's based in some ways on Buddhist teachings or values, we kind of hate marketing because marketing is often synonymous with kind of like paying someone else to say great things about you, trying to sell, uh, is the opposite of genuine connection too often. So um, let's see, what do we have written here? It begins before you write. If it connects with your readers and connects with the right livelihood is made up of, do you love it? Like what you're going to write about. Do you love it? Is it something you know well and you're good at, which is the second category? Is it something that can pay the bills? That's what we're going to focus on with marketing and publishing and all that. And is it a benefit? Is it good for the world? If it connects with right livelihood, if it connects with readers, if it connects with this time, if it connects with your own heart, it's probably worth going for it. And if some pieces feel like they're missing, you're not sure, it still may be worth exploring. Fans are human beings. So when you're building up likes and all this stuff, treat people with integrity, treat them with respect as equals, with different experience. You may have more experience in some ways, less in others. I am writing a new book of sort of Buddhist and everyday wisdom for me and for others and for this world and this time. I put up certain chapters and received negative feedback. I'll get into that later. And that has been so helpful. It's forced me to educate myself further, to learn, to re-edit, to rewrite, and put out something that's more effective, that lands better, and in some cases is different than what I was saying at first. So treat your fans as human beings, because that's what they are. Don't treat them as customers with money. Because they'll feel that your connection will never be genuine on some level. You could have 1 million likes, be popular, but you want to connect. You want to do something good for the world. Leave it better than you found it. So keep it genuine, make it genuine. Sales doesn't sell. I think my notion is I just really try to do something genuine, and that sells because people build a connection with you and with your work, and that creates the kind of word of mouth that you can't buy it. So I'm sure I have many more notes and I can go more into it. Let me reflect on that. I think I touched on everything. So I think we can go to the next one. So discipline. Be consistent. Let's go back to discipline. Yeah. So this is the sort of rough draft cover of my next book. It's got some mountains and a sun and a little path, and the cabin from my first book is actually sort of Easter egged into there, and it's titled "It's Never Too Late to Fall in Love with Your Life." It's printed on a super eco cover, no plastic. Most books have plastic in them. You can't, they're going to be around forever in a kind of toxic way. That's not a good thing. We don't want our legacy to be toxic. So part of the elephant way, which we talk about in Elephant Academy, and you have, I think, discounts on those courses today, is to do it ecologically responsibly. But coming back to our agenda in terms of discipline, you want to do it consistently. So you don't want to just do it when you're feeling good. Don't do it when you're not feeling good. Inspiration is fickle. What you want is some kind of consistency. So if you feel like, okay, I have kids, I have a job, I'm at college, whatever your energy or responsibilities are, be realistic about that, and then commit to writing one a day, or commit to writing 3 a week, or commit to writing 4 a month, 1 a week. Whatever it is, just try to be consistent. That said, if you kind of hit writer's block, and we have a whole kind of teaching or seminar on writer's block in Elephant Academy, you want to respect writer's block. You want to make friends with writer's block. You want to listen to what it's telling you. So don't try to fight your way through it and do something that doesn't have integrity. You want to, at some points, you will want to wait until the genuine inspiration kind of boils over. So it can be complicated there, but generally you're going to want to kind of maintain a pace. You're not going to want to take off for too long. So if you don't have anything, you don't know what to write about, come back to your own experience, come back to the Buddhist teachings or whatever your reference point is. And if you still don't have any inspiration or anything to write, read, research more. You may be writing fiction, nonfiction. It really depends where you want to go for your inspiration, but you can do more research. And if you still don't have anything, you can wait. I'm a big fan of meditation, of long walks in the beautiful fall foliage. Try to take care of yourself, take care of your community, and be in a good place, and good stuff will follow. So it's okay to wait. It's better to wait than to make up BS. All right, next slide. So serialization is a huge one. Serialization, I always think of Charles Dickens, where you're publishing one chapter, and comments are welcome at any time if you have comments or you just want to say hi. So serialization is putting out a chapter, putting out a paragraph, putting out a quote, putting out little installments, kind of like on HBO or something. They release one show a week, a little less like Netflix, where they give you the whole thing and you can just binge watch all night watching the Squid Game. Here is one a week, whatever. So you drop it out in an individual Instagram post, and it could be a chapter, it can be a quote with commentary in the caption. And then hopefully most of the time, if you've approached it in the right way, the way that we talked about in the beginning, in terms of right livelihood, in terms of connection to your own experience, it's good to write what you know. Again, even if you're writing fiction, research, hopefully it comes out of characters from your own life or your own experience in some way, maybe not directly. You're going to put that out and you'll get real-time feedback. And as you do that, you'll offer links in the link in bio, or also in the caption. You could just have a redirect, and you can send people to your pre-order link or to your crowdfunding, like I did Kickstarter and raised 50 something thousand bucks, which also helps market your book. Or you can send folks to your newsletter. You can get people's emails. There's a lot you can do here as you write it to help guide your own writing and your marketing and your sales. So like for my next book, I don't think we know the exact figure, but I have something like $12,000 or $17,000 of pre-orders that I've already sold. Maybe some of you have bought a pre-order, and that really helps cushion the blow, which in my case is like $60,000 of the initial print run. Printing, in my case, I'm doing it all independent publishing. We have a course on how to do that on Elephant Academy. It can be expensive, so you can crowdfund. Again, I did that with Kickstarter, or you can kind of do pre-orders with your own sort of PayPal or Venmo link. So in terms of serialization, you're releasing one chapter at a time. You're getting feedback that might help inform you, keep you on track. For me, when I had to write without serializing back in the day, I would kind of get a little confused. I'd be writing, everything would be great. I'm sure all of you have had this experience, maybe Alexandra on your fourth novel. Sometimes you're writing and everything's easy and going well, but then sometimes you kind of get a little lost. And for me, serialization kind of gives me the view of knowing where, how people are reacting. It's like I visualize I'm walking kind of, well, it's almost Halloween. So walking through a haunted house, dark corridor, and then it gives me ability to kind of see where I'm going so I don't get all lost and wind up in a scary place. I think I'm use that analogy as far as I can. So let's see, go deeper. Let's go back for 1 sec. I don't think I touched on that second. Thank you. Right. So as you're serializing, as you're writing, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper with your audience. The only thing you want to exploit with your audience is genuine love and appreciation. So you don't want to exploit it in a bad way, but you want to go in, go deep, go hard at whatever people are loving, go at that. As long as it's good for everyone, good for the world, go at that, really explore it. It's like discovering a vein of gold or something. So if it keeps connecting, you can go wider until you don't find any more, right? You can go left, you can right, you can go up, down, you can try a little funnier, more serious, you can try a little more topical in terms of trending news or what is on people's minds, like climate crisis, democracy, voting rights, anti-racism. It really depends what you're writing about. And then you can go more historical. So you can try different directions and you'll kind of know, you may discover new pockets of inspiration and then go deep on those. And if you do one and it doesn't really feel right, then you can come back and just stay focused. So the only corollary to that is don't just go for what's popular. Remember your mission. Your mission is probably deeper than what's popular, than what's getting likes. You want to do something whether it's popular or not. So if you put up a few chapters and there's not really any feedback or is sort of missing, kind of like you're at the plate and you're missing a couple pitches, that can be okay. You can keep going. But if you're missing more than a few pitches, you got to come back to sort of where you're connecting well. Okay, thank you. So serialization is basically an old-fashioned word for A/B testing. You're using every chapter to post it on Instagram, caption, quote, we'll get more into those, link in bio. If anyone has questions about the link in bio or any of this, please put it in there in the comments, and then you're going forward. So you're building your audience, you're selling your book, you're helping your own writing, and you're getting feedback all at once. That is the magic of serialization. So with Instagram, this is specifically about my book, but it'll be different for yours. But we went into years of this hashtag and things I'd written, and we pulled all the sort of the ones that resonated the most. It's not a word I use often, so I mean it. The ones that connected the most, that were most helpful, that I liked. And then out of that, we made the book. Because in my case, the book was a kind of book of quotes and commentary for living a mindful life. But that is to say, if you're a writer generally, you can use your Instagram not just for photos of the beautiful fall foliage or your family or your travels, but use them for your writing. And then even if you're writing just random things, over time, you can pull strands of those. Like in Harry Potter, you can pull strands of them, the memory thing, whatever it was called, and weave them together, and that can birth your new book. So let's see. There's the Remember Mission reminder. Facebook can be great. we have like 12, 13 million fans on 60 pages. Whatever you have, you can build that up. Right now, I emphasize Instagram because Facebook, in a lot of ways, is struggling and is confused, and Instagram is a little more hotter and more stable. Twitter can be effective. I use Twitter to actually put my writing out there, to edit my writing. You could do this entire book of yours on Twitter, and in fact, I think I would love to do that for my next book. Um, you can nest everything in there and then send people to your newsletter. Your newsletter, unlike these social media big tech companies, is something you control at least a little bit. Google sort of controls newsletters, but get people to your newsletter, to your website. Send people back to your something you control at least a little bit, because ultimately you don't really control Facebook. The algorithm has tightened. Instagram, there's been changes over the years. Twitter, I can say, at Elephant Journal, at Waylon Lewis, etc., are very active. And while we have pretty good traction on Twitter, it can be, we'll put up some posts and there's one like, So Instagram right now is a wonderful combination because you have the image where you can use a tweet image or a quote that you handwrite, or Canva, which is how we designed this. It's a wonderful design program for everyone. But don't forget about your own site, about newsletters. Yeah, Janice, maybe a follow-up question. I think it was based on, why I don't love Amazon. I just don't like Amazon's ethics, and I don't like its effect on publishing, and I don't like how it prints environmentally. I don't like how it ships environmentally. I'm not a big fan of Bezos. Generally, I try to put my energy, the whole quote about which wolf do you feed? You feed the one that's good for you, kind of, or good for the world. I don't like to put my energy into companies that I don't really respect. So with my first book, we did offer it for sale on Amazon, but I demanded we never shared that link. We never marketed Amazon. We shared links and marketed things that we controlled where we got the profits. But yeah, Amazon is where a lot of writers work, and I know many, many people would disagree with me and say that Amazon is key to their business. I'm not arguing that Amazon can't be effective, but I'm just saying I don't really respect their mission or their ethics or their effect on our planet, or even how they work with their own employees. So maybe I'm getting behind. Build intrigue and your audience. So with Instagram, it can be effective too if you want to handwrite your quotes. I do some calligraphy. If you want to do the designs on Canva, I'm more a fan of like tweet a quote from your book, then screenshot that, use that in Instagram. For Instagram, we use a program called Later to schedule. You can do multiple image posts on Instagram, so you could have 10 different sections of your writing, then the caption. There's so much you can do. So write Later down if you don't know it, and Instagram is something you want to do. And then so consistent style with your book. Create a hashtag for your book. It doesn't matter how crazy the hashtag is. My hashtag for my new book is "It's Never Too Late to Fall in Love with Your Life," which is pretty darn long. The good thing about having a long, ridiculous hashtag is no one else has really used it. Typically, the hashtag for my first book, "Things I Would Like to Do with You," we'll go into that as well. It's a way to encourage readers, fans, to share the book, to share excerpts, to use that hashtag, and then you can reuse their shares, and that's more effective marketing wise sometimes than doing your own marketing, showing all these people connecting with your book. So definitely create a hashtag early on. The hashtag cannot be something simple. If your book is titled My Way or the Highway, and you make that the hashtag My Way or the Highway, there will be 10 million hashtags already for that. So your hashtag really has to be unique. If nothing else, it could be your name: Janice Stanton, Wendy Scott. Even with Wendy Scott, there may be a lot of other Wendy Scott. So you want to try to find a hashtag that is typable for people, not too long, but also not overused already, so that you can kind of own that hashtag. Um, People probably know all that. So captions. Um, in my caption, I said, this is from my forthcoming book, elephantjournal.com/shop or elephantjournal.com/books or shop.elephantjournal.com to get the pre-order. And then I gave people an incentive. I said, all pre-orders will be signed free. Um, so in every caption, include how to get the book, and that should be relatively simple. If it's a pre-order, if it's not available, be really clear about that. Don't overpromise. And you can do updates on like when it's coming out. Like I just sent off final draft, and I am going to go through a final edit, but I've done my part basically, and so I should update everyone about that because people are waiting. In my case, for a long time, I've been slow. You don't need an audience to begin. That's I should have started with that message. Folks, you don't need a audience to begin. There's no excuse not to begin, but you do need to grow that audience as you go. So I think we're good for the next one. Okay, so this is a little too small, at least for me to read, but hopefully you have it full screened. This is just an example. It's never too late to fall in love with your life is a new hashtag. We've just started it. So there's only 172 posts with that hashtag. They're almost all shares from us. And you can see here's some examples. A little illustration by myself up top, a shoe, a bow and arrow, a flower. And then there's the quote. And then you can imagine in the caption, there's all that other info, and maybe there's more text from the book. And to me, the best way to market to sell your book is to share the actual book. Don't talk about it all the time. Share the actual excerpts from the book, and then people want to buy it. What's going to be cool is when we come out with the actual physical book, suddenly people are going to use that hashtag if they like the book, if they buy the book, if they're connecting with it, when they take their own photos of a chapter or the cover, as you'll see with the next slide. And then suddenly there will be 1,000 hashtags, and then I can remarket all those hashtags and shares. And they love that because they get more fans, they get some credit. So this is things I would like to do with you. Hashtag from my first book. You can see there's 12,220 posts under that hashtag, not all of which are my book, but almost all of which are. You can see there's a lady there who's posing with my book. So people do their own things with it. They have their own connection. They share a quote, they do whatever. And we share different things. We did some collage kind of stuff. We did some kind of more Canva style stuff, or typewriter with a little flower there. And then caption, buy the book here, if so inspired. So you can see a hashtag is an incredibly central, simple way to create a community. So once you're kind of in the writing process, you're going to want to start getting ready to edit. So my advice is to hire an editor. Do not be your own editor. There will be a replay. It will be available if you registered here. And we'll also eventually put a course around this on Elephant, which will either make free or super cheap for Elephant Academy. So hire a critical friend, meaning a friend, but not just a brown-nosing happy friend, but a friend who will give you critical feedback. I remember I wrote a second draft of a chapter that people had a kind of issue with or criticism for, and Lindsay, who is here but behind the scenes, didn't like my rewrite. She said, I didn't like this. You got into blah, blah, blah. You went in the wrong direction, basically. You want a friend or a colleague who is able to do that. So I say a critical friend or friendly professional editor. So if you hire a professional, they can't just be someone you find on some website. They have to be pretty dedicated to you and your vision. They have to be personally inspired. So they need, if you're writing about the environment, if you're writing about fiction, it needs to be you need to find someone who cares about the environment or cares about the story you're writing. Because there's going to be a lot of times when you lose a little bit of steam for yourself. Alexandra, I'm sure you've had moments like that, where your editor is going to be the one whoosh, getting you back into the groove and pushing you back in there. It's kind of like in NASCAR. You're going to pull off to the side. You're going to want to take a week or two off. You're not inspired. But meanwhile, they're, putting new tires on and they're pushing you out. And that needs to happen. So your editor is both going to be encouraging, criticizing, and cajoling, pleading, begging, anything they can do to get some progress going. They're also going to edit. They need to be a better writer than you in a technical sense. I'm a nerd. I'm good at spelling, all this stuff. Lindsay has been my editor exclusively on this book. And where she's better is she will get irritated if there's not consistent commas or consistent punctuation in some way. So you want someone who's really kind of on it. Receive feedback, make revisions. I did endless revisions, but not nearly as many as some writers, right? Hemingway bragged about doing like 65 edits of the final page of For Whom the Bell Tolls. Some people you won't be editing hardly at all. If you're writing poetry, who knows? It may be simpler. That's great. I'm envious. Send off completed manuscript to designer, get printer ready. So we have a whole course on how to print the book ecologically, independently, and make 95% of the profits. If you're doing it that way, cool. If you're doing Amazon or bookstores or publishers, then it'll be different. It'll be a lot less money you'll make, but that can be a great route to go. And then, I did want to say on edits, don't over edit. I edit a lot, but I don't over edit. Draw the line. There's a point when you start mucking it up and you're getting too far away from the inspiration. Okay. I'm not really checking all my notes here. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to toss them at me. But yeah, I think I've touched on that. Some of my posts on Instagram had great discussions in the comments that helped with the editing process. I think I've touched on link in bio later. Building the community is important, even though we're kind of focusing on Instagram, to share your work on your newsletter, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, your own site, Elephant or another big user-created media, Facebook, wherever you want. So Instagram is just one of the menu, but Instagram is a great way to do the whole thing because it's got that visual aspect, multi-slides, link in bio, and caption, and a good audience right now. Consistency is huge for building that community. Okay, what else have I skipped in my notes? I think I've covered it. All right, back to you all. Sorry, I'm just glancing at my notes. So market and sell, this might be the final slide. Repeat your pre-marketing. So you've been sharing your writing over the years. You've kind of pulled in your favorite stuff. You start putting it all together. As you put it all together, start sharing that, again, with the hashtag, with the link, and the design, and everything should start being really consistent. So the way you share it can also help your designer or the design process, if you're doing your own design or a publisher is doing it, to get consistent, to really feel it out. So it's a little bit like a potter goes through 4 different stages where the vase gets refined, hardened, the glaze, and then at this point, especially if you're doing your own printing, which is a little more work, your own design, or hiring a designer, employing your own editor, this is really a point where you can collect the money and break a bottle of champagne on the bow. Often it feels tacky or like you're missing the point to talk about money or marketing in terms of books. But I like to say, if you believe in your message, if you feel like it's of benefit, if it's going to be a fun read at the very least, you want it to pay your time. You want it to help pay your mortgage or your rent. If you have a family, you want to have it help pay for your delicious vegan dinner. There's no shame in money when money is based on mission, right livelihood being of benefit. Part of right livelihood in the Buddhist tradition is that it needs to pay the bills. That is considered to be an ethic, to be something important. So I don't like to avoid discussions of money or marketing. That is part of it. So, yeah. So, final slide, Elephant Academy. We offer different programs. These are just 3 of them. Check them out, please. I think there's a link somewhere to go there. But how to write, publish, and sell the hell out of your book is pretty big, successful, and it's self-guided. Write Your Heart Out is our huge course with like 100 people live, and it goes on for a month and a half. That's our most popular. And then How to Find Your Voice and Succeed on Instagram Without Really Trying. Asterisks, of course, the asterisk is you kind of have to try. I think that course is way cheaper and shorter. So that's my rant. And I would love to make this a dialogue if folks have questions or whatever we want to do at this point. I might have gone too quickly. I hope I didn't bore or skip past stuff. But yeah, the Buddhist approach is not really meant to be about Buddhism. I don't really mind if no one is Buddhist, that's great. But the point is you want to be a benefit, you want to keep it genuine, and keeping it genuine will help build that community. So yeah, if you have questions, you can email Molly, Emily, and the others, Katie at academy@elephantjournal.com. Elephant Academy is our online school at Elephant Journal. Hey, Ashley.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Waylon, so much for this really like concretely accessible information that I think is probably feels a bit like a salve to a lot of folks who are in that maybe creative space of, you know, the creative flow that you want to be in to build your best work and to write your best story, but then recognizing that you also have to kind of do this very operational sort of stuff, and maybe thinking in a different space where you're balancing. I love the integration of the Buddhist approach of keeping things in balance in terms of the time you spend in creative space, and then how you think about actually serving your audience, right? So like you mentioned, and this is something that comes up for nearly every type of event. I mean, for every type of event that we do, and it actually like literally comes up in almost every event that we do, where creators discuss the importance of understanding and connecting authentically with your audience.
Mm,
So doing that
love
in
that.
ways, yeah, that feel authentic to who you are as a writer, as an artist, as a, whatever your line of, as a manager, whatever your line of work might be. Um, so I appreciate your focus on authenticity and marketing in a way that honors what you're actually trying to do for your audience, which is a really great message. I would love to just kind of invite the audience to excuse me, to, yeah, any additional questions that you might have while we have Waylon here, and the team from Elephant Academy, which definitely, if you haven't checked out their kind of library of courses, they have a ton of really terrific content that will help no matter where you are in the process. Um, I'm while we're waiting, or while folks are kind of dropping in their final questions, I would love to know maybe just a little bit more about your um, the how this process came about for you. So obviously, you spend a lot of time now educating others on how to market how to market your book as and going through that publishing process. But I'm guessing that it wasn't just you didn't already know all of this when you went to publish your first book. So what was that experience like? Kind of the trial and error of it, the path. How did you come to these insights that you have now that you're able to educate us on, so that we don't have to go through all the same like initial trial and error that you might have when you were writing your first book?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun question because I was involved in social media, but again, coming back to the being genuine thing, kind of love-hate social media.
Yeah.
So it's possible to love social media if you keep it genuine, because then you're just connecting with people like we're connecting here today. And basically, so I wrote a kind of random story on Elephant Journal, our website, and
Mm.
the reaction was something like I had never experienced before. Some people like what I write, most people like what I write, some people hate it or disagree. But this thing I wrote was like uniformly positive reaction, and not only positive, but people were like out of their gourds saying, "Yes, I've gone through this. Oh my God." And I was like, wow, the reaction to this one thing I wrote is unlike anything I have ever written before,
Mm.
except for one or two things, which I also wound up being connected. I had written a article called "Love is Selfish" on Elephant Journal, and everyone was over the moon about that thing. And it's not a criticism of love; it's sort of a criticism of the kind of pop culture idea of love.
Mm.
Um, and and then I wrote this thing called "Things I Would Like to Do with You in the Woods,"
Right.
based on this date I had gone on, and again, just my sort of wondering, thinking about commitment and relationships in 20 whatever it was 2015 when I started writing it. And I was like, wow, it's like I had struck gold, or I had, caught fire with this thing I had written. So I said, well, maybe I should go deeper in here, because this is a subject I love, the Buddhist notion of love and relationship, and
Mm.
giving people space, not being super codependent, and letting go, and commitment. And I myself was looking for what the heck commitment would look like. So I started just serializing it on Elephant, and then I naturally started linking all the chapters. It became clear this might be a book, and I started linking them all together in the articles. And then very soon I started saying, this, I think this will be a book. And sometimes I would be consistent, sometimes I would give myself time to wait for the next chapter to just kind of happen. And some were easy and everyone loved them, and some were really hard and honestly pretty mediocre. And a lot of editing had to happen on some, and almost no editing on others. And then at some point, I think I stepped into, Instagram and Kickstarter, and, doing different things with this. And I fundraised for the book, and people got the book when it came out. And we created a Facebook page. I created a Facebook page called "Things I Would Like to Do with You" that got 108,000 fans before I even went to press on it.
Mm.
And then I had printed a magazine. Elephant started as a magazine before it went online. So I was like, I'm going to print this book myself, because I want to do it eco. All books are like kind of super uneco, which is partly why I don't love Amazon.
Tricky. Yeah.
So then I printed it, and then I made all the money. And, instead of giving it all away to the publisher or Amazon or whatever. And sadly, I made none of the money. It all went to Elephant and our wonderful staff and our great work. But, I also get a salary. So anyway, it's all part of the
It's an
good end of us.
ecosystem.
So I figured it out as I went. And then with
Yeah.
the second book, Facebook has really fallen apart in the 5 years. It's not that effective for marketing unless you're marketing like conspiracy theories and, you know, crazy town stuff. So Instagram has become better for that. Twitter, I think, can be effective for that. But again, I don't want to overlook newsletter, your own site, like really invest in your own platform.
Yeah.
And then, so honestly, I think the short answer is I learned by doing and figuring it out and asking questions. Like someone made a joke, Janice, I need to kick my teenager niece $20, give me an Insta
I
tutorial.
saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had a friend, Sophia, up at this cafe, like 2 blocks above me. I think she showed me how to do Instagram. Like this is many years ago now, but she had to show me like at least twice before I got anything. It's not user friendly in a lot of ways. Click
Well,
that.
and there are always new features too. You can, I
Yeah,
mean, you've got reels now, Waylon. You didn't have reels when you were marketing your
exactly.
first book.
There's always new stuff, and some of it is effective for a little while, and then they stop emphasizing it. So if you don't know Instagram at all, you have two choices. One is you don't need to do it. Don't feel pressured to do any social media platform, because it's an investment of time,
Right.
unless you're going to be consistent. But on the other hand, you can learn it and be consistent and rock it.
And there's like a trade-off. So yeah, figuring out what way to market feels authentic to you is another way of developing that authentic relationship with your audience. I noticed we have Kathleen is asking once. I think this is a question that probably lots of us have thought, whether it's with a book or whatever kind of creative endeavors we might have. You have that spark of an idea, and you're not sure what exactly the final product is going to look like, or if it's going to flow in the way that the shape that it has in your head. I'm curious to know what what your writing process is. Do you just, as Kathleen says, just start writing and then see what it turns into, or do you go in with like a really disciplined plan and kind of execute toward that?
Yeah, I think you go in with a disciplined plan and write toward that, and then it all falls apart because, if you're writing fiction, like this one side character might become fascinating and start pulling your whole story in a different direction and taking
Right.
over. And, you know, Oprah Winfrey was discussing how prepares for interviews. And she said, I prepare and I study and I prepare and I study and I prepare. I create note cards, everything's hyper organized. And then I leave it all behind. And I
Throw it out. Yeah,
go,
it's that like that Mike Tyson. I'm pretty sure this is him. I quote this
yeah,
all the time, and I have not done the research to find out if he actually said this, but I always go into the ring with a plan, and then I get punched in the face.
yeah.
Right? It's like,
Yeah, I think it is Mike Tyson. I think the quote is like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
yeah.
Yeah. Because so I think there's a lot of virtue depending on, I mean, particularly if you're like writing history or biography, you have to be organized. You have to do your
It's
research.
different, yeah.
And fiction, you have to keep everything straight. But, in some contexts, like with things I would like to do with you, I was really just writing something about my own experience, my own life, and comparing that to the Buddhist teachings on relationships. So I didn't have to do a whole lot of organization ahead of time. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the best answer is you kind of write to your strength. So if you're hyper organized, type A, do it, go for it. And if you're super loosey goosey like me, and you kind of don't want to be organized, but you have someone like Lindsay to come in and help with edits,
There
go
you
for
go.
that. But
Yep.
you have to go with your strength and then also be willing either way. I mean, we teach this in Elephant Academy again. Be organized, and then the Buddha called it the middle way. So he was advising a
Mhm.
musician, and the musician said, how should I work with my mind in meditation? And the Buddha said, just in the way that you tune your guitar, not too tight, not too loose. So the idea is you want to be organized, but you also want to have room for organic growth. And I think
Right.
Stephen King, who teaches about writing, he doesn't just write, says the same thing. You want to allow some room for a lot of room, really, for organic growth of the story.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a terrific spot to end it. And I will I'm gonna drop this. Too many tabs open. I'm gonna drop the link to the course. Actually, maybe well, just so everybody knows, I'll mention one more time for the good of the order. We will have a replay available that will have all the comments in it. So if there were links that came up that you wanted to check, you'll have access to all of those. Also, the link to the Elephant Academy course, how to write, publish, and promote the hell out of your book, is pinned to the top of the YouTube stream that you're watching on right now. Those of us who are, or those of you who are joining us live, and for anybody else, the link to the Elephant Academy kind of course catalog is also available. And I'm going to drop it in here one more time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you can see all the other terrific resources that the Elephant Academy team builds and puts out into the world. Whoops, that's not the right one.
Molly could probably put in there too, if that's
Oops.
helpful. Elephant
Yeah,
Journal.
and
Yeah.
just grab
Yeah.
the
I
wrong
mean, the
link.
one thing I would emphasize again is, which I haven't really like emphasized that much in this, but we do in other courses, is if you do it the independent kind of eco way, you all can make 90% of the profits, if not more. And honestly, I have a lot of friends who are professional, wonderful writers with mainstream publishers, the money can be really laughable. And by laughable,
Yeah,
I mean like cryable. It's not that the publishers are evil, it's that Amazon has made really only blockbuster books profitable, like the
mm,
Harry Potter kind of thing.
right.
But if you're writing a book that isn't going to get that kind of attention, and you want to pay for it, pay for your time, independent publishing is amazing and can also be eco along the way.
Yeah, and that I think that's a really valuable set of skills um, to promote and to share about, especially just in a time when so many fields are kind of, I mean, democratizing, for lack of a better word, or becoming more accessible to folks. Being able to kind of master how to carve your own path so that you're not beholden to, the big record companies or big publishing companies,
Exactly.
makes a huge difference.
Exactly.
So thank you. I got a little lag on my stream here. Um, can you still hear me, Waylon?
I can, yeah,
Okay,
perfectly.
perfect. Great. Well, in that case, I will just say thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing this wisdom and giving folks like a little peek behind the curtain as to how they can up their skills and turn their creative endeavors into something that also kind of supports a lifestyle that will allow creativity more down the road. So it's been
Amen.
really great chatting with you, audience. Thanks so much for joining us. Definitely check out the link to Waylon's course and investigate what else the team at Elephant Academy has going on. They're full of resources, no matter where you are in the process of trying to put your book out into the world. These cats have something to offer you. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time. Thanks so much, Waylon.
Hey, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Teachable. And thank you, everyone, for coming.
Take care, everybody.